Hello, everyone. Welcome to Genealogy Adventures. I'm Brian Sheffey.
No.
And I'm Donya Williams. Y'all see my Loretta? Y'all, that's my friend.
Yeah, that's me. I'm the one she be talking about.
Yeah, if y'all on my Facebook page and I'm like, Loretta, I'm unfriending you. There she is. That's her.
Hi, everybody.
That's her
So,
introduction.
for all the times that we have mentioned our dear cousin Loretta Bellamy and our research partner in Genealogy Adventures, she does exist.
I
She
do.
does. She
She's
does.
in the house.
I like to stay in the background.
She
and
does.
as
She
well,
likes that too.
and as always, no matter how you're tuning in, thank you so much for spending the next hour with us. Um, and I'm just going to give a quick backdrop to the reason why we're having this conversation about family today. Um, Donnie and I, over the many seasons that we've been doing the show, we always talk about DNA surprises and bonus kids, adoptions that no one knew about, fostering that no one knew about, name changes that no one knew about. We're going to go into a little bit about what happened yesterday, or at least the story that Donnie shared with me yesterday. And I got the idea we really need to talk about what is family. Um, Growing up with the tradition of family being the people you're connected to immediately by blood, so cousins and whatnot. Um, but as we've gone down the DNA journey, that's how we met Loretta. Loretta is part of our family. I mean, I don't think about Loretta any differently than cousins that I grew up with from childhood. Um, so again, making extending your family through DNA or the family that we choose. Plus, we live in an era where there are more blended families coming together. So we just thought it would be a really good idea, just in kind of a neat show topic, to actually discuss what is family.
Yes. And happy Easter to everyone as
Yes,
well.
happy
That
Easter,
Happy
everyone.
Easter.
yeah, yeah. So, I guess we just can just like jump right into it. I know y'all don't need no introduction for Loretta. I swear, I hope y'all don't, because we do not have one. She has actually been on the show so much. She could actually sit in for one of us if one of us got really, really sick or take over. She could take over the show. So, just
Well, I will, just to
yeah,
give Loretta her flowers, she has super sleuthing. We all have our strengths. We're all all of the researchers with Genealogy Adventures, decades. Collectively, we have over something like 150 years worth of research experience.
yeah,
My research specialty happens to be in the colonial period, restitching together those slavery disrupted families. But Loretta, she should be working for the FBI, the CIA, uh, Secret Service. I don't know what, but her ability to find the living descendants of people, you should be doing probate stuff. You are
yeah.
that good.
I've been
She
asked.
don't. I'm sure. When it comes to finding an obituary that Dong and I are struggling to find, or that missing piece of information, even bank and financial information, Loretta is the bomb.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
We'll give her that. Well, I'll do that today because it's Easter and I want to be nice. So I want the Lord to bless me. So yeah, we're gonna say
That's all
yes.
right. I ain't going to be talking to her by Tuesday, but okay.
Whatever. Anyway, no. So let's hop right on into it. What is family? That's a great question. So I think each one of us take the opportunity to answer that question. Loretta, since you're the guest, we'll let you go first and say, what is family to you?
Well, family to me, if I ask anybody that I do genealogy research for, the first thing they'll say is their immediate family. They'll say mom, dad, grandma, brother, sister, aunts, uncles, cousins, maybe grandma. Occasionally they'll say great grandma. And I'm like, that's fine because that's typically what we grow up with. But as a genealogist and a researcher, family's so much more than that. It extends well beyond what you can see with your natural eye. And for some people, they can get with it. But I find that other people have a very, very hard time wanting to connect with other people. So many times I'll hear people say, that's not my family, that's not my family. And without even giving it a thought, it's the first thing that comes out of their mouth. I'm like, well, why would you say that? Just because you don't know them, just because you haven't met them, they're still your family.
That
Who's
part.
your family? And especially if it's DNA connected. And I just think a lot of people have a hard time reconciling with the past, from stories that have been recycled over and over again, misinformation that's been given over and over again. And over time, these stories have accumulated into a lot of misnomers about who their family really is. And so they're so quick to shut it down. But I think if people would be more open about the things that we find, it's such a blessing too. Two, you can be so helpful to somebody out there who's searching. There are so many people out there who are looking for family members, trying to find family members, and they get rejected all the time. And so I think that when it comes to family, especially from a genealogy point, we really, really should keep an open mind on about any and everybody that is found, especially if it's DNA connected, because we know DNA don't lie.
That part. That
DNA
part.
don't lie.
Brian. Yeah. Brian, what about you? What's family?
Uh, Family is the family that I was born into, including aunts, uncles, cousins, and all of those good things. But as I've gotten older, and relationships have changed, I've found that I guess my definition of family has expanded. So I have dear friends that I class as family, and again, maybe that's a Southern thing too. It wasn't until I started doing genealogy that men and women that I grew up, especially in DC, calling aunt and uncle, I just thought were aunts and uncles. Come to find out, just deep family friends.
Mm,
But those bonds at that generational level were so close.
mm,
As kids, we're just encouraged to grow up calling them auntie and uncle. So I mean, I love them dearly, as if they had been blood relations. Also, friends. I was blessed and honored to be able to raise two boys from infancy with my best friend Mary in England. Um, Playing some part in shaping them into the men that they've become today, so much so that one of them is named his firstborn after me,
Oh,
not his
that's
biological,
beautiful.
not
nice.
after his biological father, me.
Nice.
Um,
Wow. Wow.
Nice. Very
so,
nice.
cut a long story short, as I've gotten older, I've kind of rejigged or kind of redefined what I think of as family. I think you put it really well in the show description, Donnie. Those people that have your back, who are your ride or die, whether they're
Hmm.
connected to you by blood or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, family is what was put in the show description. Who's your ride or die? Because I have 40-year friends who they're not friends anymore. Them girls that I grew up with, um, those are my sisters. Those are my outlining sisters,
Hmm.
and you cannot not say that they aren't. Like, those ladies have stepped in for me on times where they just talked to me on the phone and they live far away, but they heard my voice and they rallied up and was like, "Hey, don't you need us?" And they popped up at my house. It's no way that that's not family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you do have that traditional immediate family: your mom, your dad, your siblings, your nieces, your nephews, your first cousins. I have been very blessed to be raised with third and what most would consider third and fourth cousins.
Hmm.
Um, so I can't count cousins out. I was raised with the not being able to count cousins out, and that part, because my mom was so the youngest, and I'm the youngest grandchild of my mom's family. It's I had 70 first cousins altogether,
Hmm.
and well, 69 minus, I'm the 70th. So 69 first cousins. And then it's their kids that I grew up with. And, the ones, their kids, they're the ones that I'm closest in age to. So depending on which ones, like the older ones or whatever. But the thing is that family to me is just those that really want to stick with you regardless of
Hmm.
what's going on and what's happening. And
Very true. Very
yeah,
true. I have friends who, like you say, ride or die, and I consider them brothers. I consider them sisters.
yeah,
Um, and it's just, and the thing is, if you would see us together, if you didn't know, you would think we were brothers and
Mm-hmm.
sisters by the way that we act. And that just comes from general love and
Mm-hmm.
just truly loving that person, caring about that person, regardless of who their parents were. It's just the love and the respect that you have for that individual. And as you develop a closeness, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who gave birth to who. Like you say, it's who's going to be there with you. You know,
Right.
and I'll be honest with you, I got some friends that I'm closer with than my own siblings, so to speak.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm okay with that. I'm
So, I
okay with
mean, what really kind of brought this whole conversation into play was what we were talking about my client yesterday, Brian,
You are.
that.
and just really trying to figure out some information with one of my clients. And in talking about that and trying to figure out, not getting into my client stuff, trying to figure out certain things, we started to really get into, who, what do we think of as family? Who is family to us, and how, and why? And then the next thing is, when you're thinking about it, adding the DNA into it, what do you do after the fact when you find these other family members that you knew nothing
About.
about,
Mhm.
like those half siblings, or that daddy ain't your daddy and you found the new daddy, or you found, well, we haven't come across anybody finding a new mama, have we?
Um,
I thought we came across someone who didn't realize that their father or grandfather had been adopted, didn't we? That he grew up thinking that the couple who raised him were his actual parents.
mhm.
Didn't something like that crop up?
I
Uh-huh.
don't know. I don't what
I
family was
can't
it?
remember. I
Mm.
can't
Well,
remember.
for me, I won't say I knew. I found my birth mother after being raised by my aunt. So there was no hesitation to accept her as my mother because when she gave birth to me, I could never call her by her first name because I thought that was just rude and disrespectful. But I realized I had a whole new family. And what was so nice about that, they all welcomed me. Regardless of what went on in my mother's past and why things happened the way they did, I had a whole brand new family. And I loved it. I welcomed it because it answered questions for me that I could not get answered by the people who I was raised with. And I thought that was very important. For one, just the way I look, my height, my eye color, the way my chin looked, the way my nose looked. I
Hmm.
couldn't get that had I not done the research and embraced this new family because it answers so many questions. But
Yeah.
you have to get rid of that fear
Yeah.
of that. But I get it. Some people aren't always accepting of that. But you have to
No.
get rid of the fear.
And I want to cycle back to that in a minute because Loretta actually raises a very interesting point. We haven't even gotten into how we add this into family trees. Because obviously, this is loaded information. There are living people who are going to feel a kind of way about this information being disclosed. But before I cycle back to that, I think we just unintentionally we have a potential for an interesting conversation. Donia, you just posted something that Nikki O put up about how Black people probably have a unique
Hmm.
definition of family. I, Sarah Mae Schneider, I'm not making assumptions about ethnicity, but I'm going to hazard a guess to say that you are not African American. And if I'm wrong, please immediately do let me know in the comments section. Because Black people have never been afforded the luxury of just living our life. We've always been under attack, and that has shaped our perceptions of us, our
Hmm.
people, and our community.
Absolutely.
We have to rely on each other in a way that more independently minded, not Black people have never had to deal with. So I think again the context of our history has shaped that part of our culture, and it was a survival mechanism going all the
It
way
was.
back to slavery
Yes.
or whether you're free people of color.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in total agreement with that. And but I'm also, I wanted to kind of cycle to what Gypsy said, that DNA sibs can be tricky. And
Sure.
they, it can, it really can, because First off, it throws you off. Number one, you're like, what? I got my siblings, my mama children. If you know, or if you're a daddy's child, my daddy's children is my siblings. Or if they're your full parents, these are my siblings. Who are you? Like, what is that about?
Mm-hmm.
For me, I got to 70 cousins because of that. Finding a child for and not realizing it. And let's be clear, sometimes you're not, most times you're not even looking for that.
Mm-mm. No.
That is not your goal in DNA genealogical research, no matter how you look at it. That is not the overall goal. You can find family, new children, without doing DNA in those census records. All of a
Absolutely.
sudden, bam, it's a kid that then popped up, and that child has
Yeah.
popped up as a son or daughter. So you don't even have to do DNA to get that done. But siblings are tricky. Siblings are at a you gotta be you gotta be a special type of person to be able to accept that. But in the same instance with DNA, you gotta be a special kind of person in general.
Mm-hmm.
Get go
Can I jump?
ahead,
Can I jump
Brian. I'll
in?
let you.
Sarah,
Yeah.
that is not a racist comment. And if you actually understood Black history, you would understand exactly what I said. And actually denying that, kind of racist. So I'm just going to leave that comment there. It tells
So
me
and
you
it,
know nothing of Black culture.
I mean, it's not it's what we had. Oh, so okay. So let's look at it like this, Miss Sarah. Um, during slavery time, and this is a conversation that we want to have, and we welcome your comment. I want you to know that. And with that being said, during slavery time, a child was taken away from their parent. And when their child was taken away from their parent, who was going to take care of that child? And she went to a whole nother place. Who took care of her? Those black enslaved families took her in. First and foremost, a person of non-melanated skin does not have to worry about that. They did not have to worry about that. That was not something that happened in their lifetime. So when he pointed out the fact that it's a cultural thing, that's how far back it goes in that cultural manner, because of something as simple as a child being taken from their parent and now being moved to someone else, and now that kid is in a place that they know nothing about, and somebody has to take them in. They can't feed themselves. They don't know. These kids, these were babies that were being taken. These were 5 year olds, 9 year olds, 10 year olds. It could have been a 10 year old or an 11-year-old girl who was taken simply because she just started her menstrual and now she can procreate.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
I'm
it's
just
things like that.
Yeah.
and I'm going to say even in the modern era, Black people have only ever had each other. Because the police force that's there to protect other people, not there to protect us. All
Mm-mm.
the forms that non-Black people have relied on and depend on for their protection, Black people have not had it. And I am sorry that I snapped at you, but I get very angry when people who aren't Black drop that racist word. And
Mm-hmm.
in no way, shape, or form did what I say was racist. I merely
No,
Nor
it
did
wasn't
nor
explained.
racist.
did you say anything that what she was saying, that it defined a difference in what family is. And
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah,
what her
I
comment was.
didn't.
She was saying race doesn't change what family is. And it doesn't change what family is. What he was saying was what what this what he was saying was is that the difference in the races and why we have to be one way as opposed to some people being another.
Another
And
way.
that's with all races.
Mm-hmm.
um I hope you do understand that. I don't think you do, because you said culture is not a fact, is it, which it actually
It
is
is.
a fact.
It is.
But
Yes.
again, we're letting you know, and I hope maybe you watched the show before when said we hope you listen next time or whatever. Hear what we're saying as Black people speaking out, letting you know it does make a difference how things have been done. How
Yes.
how
I
you know
agree.
it just
And,
I
in
have,
general.
yeah,
culture,
But
the way,
we love your comments. We
I
do.
have documented information where I've done my research specifically on the family. And when it comes to white families, there was some particular white families in Virginia, and we're talking in the 1600s, who chose to have children with a black man. And because he was black, they actually treated her as if she was black because they subjected her to servitude. And then she went to court and she was found guilty. And she was told that if you have these children by this black man, you're going, you and your children are going to be subject to servitude. She took that punishment. So there again, it's the way black people were treated. And because she chose to procreate with this black man, she was now being treated as a black woman. She was no longer a white woman in their eyes. You are black, you're going to be a slave, and your half breed children are going to be slaves too. And this was in the 1600s. And this is
Are
a
you
documented
talking
court
about who I'm
cases.
talking about? Who I think you're talking about? The proctor.
Um,
I'm just gonna
it,
say,
yes, there was two families. There was one particular family that I'm working on, and actually, there's two families. There was a Hammond family and the Proctor family. Yes,
yeah.
I can
But the
say
proctors, but in the Proctor family, and the reason why I said the proctors is because they were under the impression that they were free people. They were free people of color, even though
yeah.
she was,
They
even though
have, well,
she was
it, it
enslaved.
it started out as she was enslaved, but what happened was because she was still white, she was able. They her children were able to get their freedom because at the end of the day, their mother was still white, even though their father was a slave. So
Yeah,
it had it two ways. So
yeah,
they were, yeah, they became free people of color because they were able to go to court and say my mother was white. Yes.
and the same county in Maryland, there was a woman called Mary Turner who was Irish. Again, the late 1600s. She was indentured, had children by all we know is that he was an African descended male. Don't know
Mm-hmm.
if he was enslaved or free. That poor woman ended up getting whipped. She
Mm-hmm.
had 5 kids. Each time she fell pregnant, she was pregnant, they whipped her, and
Yeah.
then they fined her, and
Mm-hmm.
then they extended her indenture by
Mm-hmm.
another 18 months for every single child that she had. And
Yes.
all of those children were free people of color because they took on the
Yes.
condition of their mother.
Exactly. It was the exact same thing with the Proctor family and the Hammond family. Exact same thing. Exactly. But there again, where she's making a racist comment, I don't think she just understands how black people are viewed and how we are treated. And the fact that they would treat one of their own like us because she chose to procreate with him. So there
yeah,
again, there's the separation of being, being treated differently just because of the
yeah.
color of your skin.
Just because of the color of your skin. You're right. So
Yeah.
we don't. Again, thank you so much for feeling comfortable enough to make the comment that you made, Sarah. Because and because this causes this type of conversation and be able to have this kind of conversation openly and be able to be adults about it, having this conversation
Mm-hmm.
and everything. Just be able to do those things. And I really appreciate that, being able to do that.
Because again,
But
there is no one unifying American culture. There
No.
is not. There is, the white cultures, they have plural cultures. We have our own overriding culture, but even within the Black American community, we have subcultures.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes.
all the oppressed people have their own cultures in this country. You can't tell me that, the Italian American culture is going to be the same as, I don't know, Protestant, Anglican, English
Mm-hmm.
um, ancestry. I'd love to hear if there's any Native Americans. What is family, specifically with the history that you've gone through, what does family mean to Native Americans? I can't speak on that. I believe me, I think after this, I'm going to get on the phone to some of my Latin cousins on Monday, and I'm going to ask them that question because they got
okay,
moved here, there, and everywhere too.
Yeah.
so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna say this one last thing because now she's trying to be kind of aggressive, and in order for
That's
me not to be aggressive, I'm gonna say it like this: Miss Sarah, good. She made comments. She made several couple of comments. Black people can only rely on each other is the most narrow-minded racist comment. If that's how you feel, then that's how you feel. You are most welcome to feel that way. But do not come on our show trying to tell us that we're victims. Because the one thing that I'm not and never have been is a victim, nor has Loretta, nor has Brian. We're not victims. We just see what's going on. And again, if you are not open enough to see what's going on, then that is your prerogative. And if your friends who are biracial and your biracial cousins and so on and so forth feel like they do, that is their prerogative. But understand and know we're sitting here, we're consistently doing our research. We are learning from the past of our research, and we see what's going on in the future and how they parallel each other. So to come on here and to actually say that we're being a certain way, it is your prerogative to do that. But please understand, we will not be going back and forth in this conversation like that on here. We're going to move back into what is family. I hope you understand that, and thank you very much for your comments.
And my absolute last point on this one is I'm just going to say this. The majority of my life, I have lived, worked, and gone to school in majority white spaces. I have either been the only one, the first person of color, or one of a handful for my 62 years on this planet. So when I speak about certain cultures that aren't mine, that are European descended, I know of what I speak. I'm just going to leave it there.
So,
Right.
with
So
that
I
being
wanted to
said,
cycle. I just want to cycle back to the other point that Loretta was making, because you were making such a good point about uh, half sibling and whatnot. The and Donnie has experienced this. I've experienced this with revelations coming out of DNA with unexpected kids.
Yes.
Um, putting that on a family tree can be a very tricky proposition. And
mm,
what are your thoughts about that?
you asking Loretta first?
Both of you. Well, whoever wants to
We're
take that
gonna
one
go to
first.
Loretta first.
Well, Donya knows how I feel. Brian and I haven't discussed it, but Donya knows how I feel. I'm putting it up there. I'm sorry. It's going up there. I'm not sugarcoating it. I'm not going to lie about it. Especially if I have DNA to substantiate it,
Mm-hmm.
it's going up there.
Mm-hmm.
You can like it, you can dislike it, you don't have to speak to me, you can unfriend me, but I just believe the truth is the truth. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe that as far as a culture, any culture, whether you're black, white, Italian, whatever, it's non truths that tear apart families,
Mm-hmm.
that have made things so difficult for us over the years and our descendants because it's the lack of truth, it's the lack of openness, it's the lack of honesty. It hurts us, it kills us. So
It
for
does.
me, it's on the tree. That's my
Yeah.
bottom line. It's on the tree.
Yeah. I put mine on the tree too. I put mine on the tree because more than likely ain't nobody gonna look at it anyway. So I mean when you think about it, because especially for you got, as a genealogist, for me, my family actually got really upset. And I don't even know why they got to. I didn't do it,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't like what I was finding. A lot of people worry about what's being found and what's being told, and you're gonna be telling their business and things of
Yes.
that nature. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like it's an extra business or anything like that. It's just the truth of what's going on in the life and what's going on in the family. And then the bottom line is that when you start to place these truths, you start to also realize that I might have married my cousin. Or
Exactly.
or I had a
That
kid
one.
by my cousin. This is why we do what we do, to try to stop
Exactly.
that particular thing. Now, in this day and age, can we stop that? I don't even know.
I don't know.
Because there's so many people, especially when you're following that migration pattern of your families and where they dropped off and where they stopped, like our Edgefield family, because we got a lot of Edgefield family in the building today. and
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
on the in the virtual building. And when you got that Edgefield family out there, they literally moved up the East Coast. Our entire Edgefield family moved straight up the East Coast from where they were all the way up into the Rhode Island,
Awesome.
the Maine, the Boston, and all that area.
Mhm.
There's some of them even went further southeast into Florida. So
Mm-hmm.
they're literally there. They're everywhere, and you don't even realize until you do the research, until you start paying attention to those census records, that everybody on that same census record was from the same daggone area.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, you ain't moved away.
I
You
just
done
want
now
to make this.
Yeah.
married your
Yep.
cousin.
I just want to prove Danya's point in real time. So Danya and I connected through DNA, and I was living in England at the time. I was living in Cornwall, and I was there for a good few years before I actually came back here. Donnie and I are related at least 8 different ways in Edgefield alone. We know we're going to be related in more ways when we get into North Carolina and Virginia. Her family is a DC family. My mother's family was a DC family. I think it was kismet that we were supposed to meet because our
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
lives circled each other because where they were living
consistent.
respectively in DC
Mm-hmm.
was not that far away from each other. And
Yeah.
we
That's
were
right.
and we had all of those connections, plus all the other cousins we have in DC. OMG.
Mm-hmm.
The number of cousins we have in DC alone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Never knew
Yeah.
that. Never knew that.
Well,
Yeah.
what's interesting about me is that we call each other cousins because we connect so well, we work so well with the genealogy, and we feel a connection, so we feel like we're related. However, it was the secrets of my family that they didn't want me to disclose, which actually turns out that I am actually an Edgefield cousin.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because of like I said, undisclosed information that I found out through doing my DNA. And when I addressed another family member about it, it was, please don't disclose that information. We don't want anybody to know, because just because it especially when it comes to the female, of being held in such high esteem. And the fact that if this information came out, the thought of her would completely change.
And that's crazy.
And my thought is, you think it would change, but let me tell you something. Those people that lived with her in that time, they knew what was going on.
And I mean, and that's crazy. I
They
have
knew
a
what was
cousin.
going on.
I
Yes.
got a cousin that he found out my mom's DNA is potent. That's what I'm gonna say. And and we found out that his dad wasn't his dad. His dad was my mom's first cousin. We'll never say names or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But in a conversation with him, he was like, it's going to change who she was. And this woman was a well known person.
Yeah, it
She
was the
did
same thing.
absolutely everything for her community. How was it going to change?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't do anything. First of all, you're the only one that know.
Mm-hmm.
You and the new people that you found are the only people that know, and they don't know,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't want and it's nothing. It's nothing about her that's going to change. She's still a pillar of the community. She died a pillar of the community, and that did not change. It's not anybody's business on what she did as she was growing up, because just like you and I are adults and we have made our mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
so has she.
Exactly.
Not one person in this world is perfect. My
Mm-hmm.
mother always said when a person is perfect, that means that it's time for them to go to their maker and they
Exactly.
leave
Listen,
this earth.
can I just put this out there? Even the Puritans weren't perfect. You take a look at when they got married compared to the dates, the birth registry dates of their kids. 3 months, 6 months,
Mm.
5 months. Puritans weren't perfect either. And why we try to hold ourselves up to this, everyone should always strive to be the best person that they can be. But we're
Yeah,
human beings. It's how we're
exactly.
wired. And holding yourself up to this impossible standards it's trauma. That in and of itself causes trauma.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Right.
think when it comes to the men and having children, let's say for argument's sake, they're married. And I think when men do it, it's not as frowned upon as if a married woman does it. And I think that's where the disclosure with Donya's family member and my particular family member, it's more or less the female who was married at the time. But
Right.
even then, okay, she was married, but we don't know what was going on in that marriage. It could have been a marriage of convenience.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what the husband was doing. You know what I'm saying? So while it may seem her actions were inappropriate, we weren't there. We don't know what happened. So but it's because of like Danya said, it's holding that person in such high esteem and bringing this information, this revelation out would crumble that, and it wouldn't, it
Right.
wouldn't, it wouldn't.
Right. You're absolutely right. So, another question for you guys: when you do come across new family members, how do you contact them? Like, and what is their response? Sometimes when you contact those new family members, like, do they want to know you? Don't they? This question is for both of you.
I'm gonna say I've had an ongoing issue over the last couple of years on Ancestry. So one of my uncles had an extra relationship of which children were born to that relationship. Um, I reached out to them on Ancestry. I've reached out 3 times. I won't do it again. I've tried 3 times, and I was just very. It's like, listen, I know who our common ancestor is.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
if there is anything you want to know about that side of the family, let me know. I've got the pictures, documents. I can give you family stories. They've made it clear they don't want to know. They haven't blocked me or anything on Ancestry, but after 3 times, no response. I'm like, you know what? I'm cool with it. I,
Yeah.
I did I did I did my best faith effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Loretta.
For me, I've been fortunate, since I've done my DNA. I've had people reach out to me and wanting to know how we're related, and so on and so forth. Um, I haven't been turned away for myself specifically with my own DNA, but I have been turned away when I'm researching for clients and doing their DNA and
Mm-hmm.
reach out to somebody, and either they don't respond or they'll say something off the cuff like my information is wrong, or I don't know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about, or this, that, and the third. So I mean that's the same as a no. But
Mm-hmm.
for my own personal research, I haven't had too many um, problems. But for when I have a client, yes, it's a big deal. It's a big
Yeah.
deal when you're dealing with a client.
Yeah. Because
Now,
that's what Kelly. It's what Kelly said. Unless you do a DNA test, you just won't know between migration, slavery, and them saying that it's no. They're saying no, but you got to be a special kind of person to like really be able to deal into this kind of DNA and start dealing with the people that once those responses come back from that. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah.
funny enough, the only issue I ever had is with European descended cousins from Edgefield specifically. A few from Virginia. I'm gonna say that my Virginia family, specifically the Sheffies, I always want to give a shout out to my white Sheffy cousins because they are awesome. And over the decades, they really have become beloved members of our family. To the extent where, again, we're like ride or die. Nothing I wouldn't do for them and nothing that they wouldn't do for me. Now, fast forward to Edgefield, and I actually had someone reach out to me, not asking, demanding that I delete all of their family from my tree.
Oh,
Oh.
wow.
You know who I'm talking. And then actually had the nerve to say, well, we don't have black people in our family.
Oh,
And I responded, well, that's funny because for someone who doesn't have any black people in your family, you have a hell of a lot of black and brown DNA matches because I
come
see all the
on.
people that we share in common.
It's
Oh,
Honestly,
yeah.
funny.
fine.
It's funny you say that because when you open up your DNA, and especially if you're looking at, um, you're looking at the 50% this, 30% this, 30% that, and you find somebody that is white, and they got 5% African American DNA or 10%. I've had good luck where some of them know, but I've had that a few where they're like, "Oh hell no, no I don't." I was like, "Okay, okay." And
That
if you
part.
open up your DNA, you can see it. It's there. It's not like I put it there, and Ancestry didn't put it there. So, but they were like, "No, I get shut down." Like, nope.
And that's the real funny part when they, act like it was you.
Yeah, like
Like,
I did.
like you did it. Like this is your fault.
Mhm.
What?
Yeah.
Oh
Or
wow.
or or you hear somebody say, "My family didn't own slaves." And when you find that out, when you find the information, when you find the plantation, when you pass the information along, I had one woman say, she said, "Well, that's not my family." Okay.
Yeah.
And it is.
Ibrahim, that's not information I'm prepared to share on a TV show. If you
Yeah.
want to hit me up and ask me on an email, hit me up and
Yeah.
ask me on an email. Um,
Just know that it did happen, Ibram, because it happened with me too, same person.
and
So
actually, Donya warned
I
me
warned
about
him,
this person,
yeah, that she was gonna do that, that was gonna happen. So
Yeah.
that
and
part, yeah.
letter
And
and
Kelly said
verse.
it again. It's the shoot the messenger mentality. That
Mentality.
stuff is
Yes.
crazy.
Yes.
Like I
Yeah.
did it. Like what? You looking at them like, huh? Hold on, time out. What you talking about? Yes, yes.
I'm a
The shoot
big,
the messenger mentality.
maybe I'm being falsely optimistic, but again, if I'm a big believer that as more people do their genealogy and they come across these things, whether they got a tiny percentage of sub-Saharan African, or they
Hmm.
just realize they have African descended family members, that it could really open up conversations and
Yes, it can.
maybe move this
It
country
can.
forward.
I mean,
Um,
it can open up the conversations that we just had with Sarah. And
Hmm.
and that's that's what it is. None of us are angry. None of us are
No,
mad.
yeah,
exactly.
just don't call
She
me
said
racist. Just don't call me racist for
Yeah.
that part. Yeah,
for
well,
speaking truth.
Yeah.
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 Because for me, I want to know. I mean, I really want to know. I mean, I'm on
Yeah.
a search now for my white ancestors from Virginia and from North Carolina. And I had a woman who wrote a book about it. She was actually, she's not, I shouldn't call her a woman, she's actually my cousin. She reached out to me. It was so refreshing. She reached out to me with a book that she had did. She was disowned by her family for doing this African American research.
Mm.
And the information that she has found has been priceless. And it's a
And see,
wealth of
that's the thing.
information.
Yes, and that's the thing with genealogists. Like when you really digging in, y'all
Hmm.
don't know how much we lose family in doing that. Like when
Exactly.
you really start digging in, you are a blessed person if your family sticks behind you 1000%.
100%.
You are a
Exactly.
totally, totally blessed person. When getting angry about finding out who your family is, I mean, my cousin got totally upset. He was mad as a hornet's nest. Called me and told me, "Are you serious, Donya? Are we really related to that man Preston Brooks?" Yes, we are. And he went completely off, not realizing that his actual response was very similar to Preston Brooks.
Hmm.
You because
Yeah.
see, and you when you're doing your research, you start to see yourself in these people. You start
Hmm.
to recognize who you are as a person, and you see that other side. So I've been saw my white side. I saw it. Unfortunately, it had to be the rowdy white side, but it was still the white side nonetheless. I
Hmm.
saw it. It was the
Yeah.
rowdy white side, but I saw the white side. And I couldn't do nothing but like, oh my God, I just said that to a person a week ago. And they turned around and they said it centuries ago. And you look in the exact same words. So yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's so very
Yeah.
hard. I can understand why white people get upset or get scared or get nervous because they're finding out that they have an enslaved family member, that they have a family member who enslaved people, and now they feel so very apologetic and so Meanwhile, I don't want you to feel apologetic. Instead, I want you to go to your congressman and tell the congressman that this is what happened and why reparations should occur.
And
Because now
ask
he's
around
like,
and ask
Yes.
around your extended family for any missing probate records, estate inventories,
that part.
deeds. That don't listen. I get it. The money is gone. I think about any of my wealthy planting Edgefield family ancestors. Yeah, they invested in Confederate bonds. That land is gone. Most of them don't even own. If the plantation house is still standing, they don't own it. So yeah, that's not reparations for me. Give me records. Give me
Yeah,
ways that I can fill in those information gaps.
yeah,
Kelly, my family's from Northampton. They're from the Northampton area of Virginia.
yeah,
Same here. I was going to actually ask you about your Hawkins and if they were in Northampton or Halifax, because we may need to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Kelly got a lot of stuff. I think Kelly connects to corals too, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
Kelly's an Edgefield person as well, and I think she accidentally got Yale DNA, and I don't pay it no
Wait a minute. How do you accidentally get yelled at DNA?
mind. Who are they? How about that one?
well,
Yeah, that
well,
part. So yeah,
well,
that we're gonna stop there.
well.
That part.
But one of the other reasons why I wanted to have this conversation, and I really should have clipped those obituaries, and it's kind of kismet, Loretta, that you're here because you were part of this weekend long research.
Hmm.
Um,
Mm,
we literally the three of us plus Sharon, who's watching and leaving comments. We literally spent an entire weekend trying to figure out between 8 people, because there were multiple marriages going on, whose kids actually biologically belonged to whom. Because there was a woman called Eula, and I
Mm.
swear hers was the first obituary we found. It looked like the woman had 25 plus kids,
Yeah,
and we were
and
pulling our hair
technically
out.
she did. And technically
But
she
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 did.
did.
She did.
She did.
She
technically
was a
she did.
beloved. She was legitimately a beloved stepmother.
Yep.
You know, the
And
stereotype of the wicked
they did
stepmother,
what they
not
did.
her.
Yes, and that those sets of couples, I don't think it was actually 8 because Eula, she was the core. It was really only like, if you want to say couples, it was really only like two and a half
You
because you
remember
had
her?
Maddie and you had Maddie and Nathaniel, then you
Hmm.
had
Hmm.
Nathaniel and Eula,
Hmm.
and then it was Eula and Arthur.
Eula
That
and
was it.
Arthur. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even
But
8 people. It was
that was enough.
yeah,
Hmm.
it was
So enough.
5 people.
Yeah.
And then the mix of them, they ended up with 25 children. But those 5 people, what they instilled in their kids was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
It was love. It
Well,
was
yeah.
love.
Yeah,
Because when you research them and you look at those obituaries, they were claiming each other as siblings,
Hmm.
yeah, not half,
not half,
not step,
Siblings.
siblings.
straight
This
up
is my
siblings.
brother. This is my sister. And we knew after doing the research who the mama and the father was, but it
Yeah,
didn't matter. It was the way that she raised those kids.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
They made sure that those kids knew what love was, and that no matter who it is, you have to accept and embrace and know and love them regardless of.
Yeah.
So, when people always say black people don't help each other, that's a core, that particular situation lets you know how much that's a lie.
Hmm.
Because those people were consistently wrapped into their lives. They were
Yeah.
consistent. That and it was beautiful. What they did with those kids were absolutely beautiful. They're
We
still mixed up to this day.
we still do it now. I just think what people see over time in this day and age, we always say that the community, the the what's the term that's always used for my circle. It just seems like that circle for some African Americans is broken, and you don't see that. We're missing some of that village. Our villages have been separated. Our villages have been split up, and it's created a massive, massive problem with our children being just out there, not
Yeah.
having the village. You don't have Miss Susie in the window yelling down, telling so and so, you need to do this, you need to do that.
That
Because
part.
what happens now, Miss Susie in the window yelling at this one, telling this one to do that. The next thing you know, this one, that one's mama trying to get upstairs to get at Miss Susie. And I
Right.
think that's the problem that we're seeing in our community now is there's a separation over time that our village, what used to be huge, has gotten very, very small.
Very small. And when you speak of the village, like, let me tell y'all something. When I was little, I lived right on 6th Street, across the street from the church that my grandparents founded. And I lived in a cul-de-sac. Not only were the adult women, everybody was my mama.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I couldn't do anything
Right.
without those people knowing what was going on, and they would take it back to Juanita.
Mm-hmm.
But then you had those young girls who were being brought up by these women. And I'm saying this in honor of two right now. Joyce Norfleet, that's her name now, and Yvonne, Yvonne Brown. These were young girls. I'm talking fresh teenagers, almost women, 20 or considered adult women.
Mm-hmm.
These women put an impact on me like no other. Like no other. And I didn't realize it until Yvonne's birthday came around. And I'm like, she not that much older than me. But you wouldn't have known that back then because Yvonne took care of us. She took care of those group of kids in that cul-de-sac.
Yes.
And she made sure that if something was happening with them, she was not going to let it happen. It was not, this was the feeling that she gave me. I love that girl. I love her to death.
Mm-hmm.
Never realizing that she's not that much older than me. We almost in the same generation, to be honest. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm loving her like another mother.
Yeah.
But she was like 18, 19 years old. So yeah, they made that's like 6 years older than me during
Yeah.
that time. But they
It's
And
our
made this
village. Yeah.
impact. Yeah.
and speaking
The
of,
village was
there was
beautiful.
another case that took the three of us all weekend to work on. I'm not going to name names, but there was a lady in Edgefield who had a number of kids, and I'm assuming that there may have been mental health issues or whatever physical issues. She clearly couldn't look after these children, so they were raised by aunts, uncles, and other family members. I'm just going to give you guys the first name, Mamie. I'm not saying anything after that.
Oh
Um,
Jesus. Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Mm.
All right.
yeah. Um,
All right.
but again, that was hard because we all of a sudden, we were looking at other people and then kids that weren't well, I guess they were biologically part of the household because they were nieces and nephews. We couldn't work out who they were. And then slowly this picture began to emerge of this woman. But when their family needed them to step up and take them,
Care. Yes.
every one of those
And they
kids was a
did.
family member. They did.
You know what was nice about that? That she was acknowledged in their obituaries. That
That
Mhm.
that part I thought was so important is the fact that even though with the mental issues or whatever it was that was going on in her life, that she could not raise these children, that when these children passed away, she was named as their parent. And I
yeah.
thought that that was so important that nobody else took over that role and said, no, this is my kid, this is my kid. No, she was their mother. And I
Yeah.
thought, what a beautiful way to honor her despite whatever went on and the reason why she couldn't raise them. And I thought that was so important.
Yes, it is. And somebody put up here, it was a statement and I did not start, so I don't know. Oh, here it is, Robin. She says she has a close match. This is going to be quick, y'all. She has a close match on her paternal line, a Mexican line of her Mexican grandfather must have had a daughter after her grandmother who was Italian died. And she doesn't know if she's torn or if she should reach out. I think you should reach out. Nothing beats a failure but a try. That's
Exactly.
it.
Absolutely. Do it.
And at least you will know you tried to
Yes.
outreach and make that family connection.
Yes, yes. Because y'all are family, regardless. And the fact that you're reaching out and making that step, you don't know how that would affect that person. I mean, for me, I have an issue like that, and she don't want to talk to me.
I
But
think for those of you who haven't seen the show, I know Donya watches it and so do I. If you don't, if you want to know how important family is
Mm.
to people who are researching, you guys need to watch the show Relative Race.
Oh my God. Okay,
When
what
I
about
tell you that I have tissue and
every
I'm
day?
crying, it is no joke because you can honest, especially on this current show with this
Mm,
man who was the
mm.
youngest of 10.
David,
Yes.
he's gonna be on the
He,
show.
huh?
He's gonna be on
Be
this
on the show.
show.
He was the youngest of 10. And he has lived all his life thinking bad about his father,
Yeah,
not knowing why he was separated from his family. And he has
yeah.
been, if you could just, it's the emotion.
It's the
It's the
emotion.
emotion that you could see. I wonder what his life would have been like, or how his life would have been had he been around his siblings.
Yes,
You never know what missing family will
yes,
do to a person's life and how it can affect them. You
yes.
know, people
Relative
walk
race.
around here sad, committing suicide, doing all kind of crazy stuff. And you always ask yourself, why are people acting like this? It could be something simple as not knowing their mother, not knowing their father, being separated from their family. It's little things like that that can have an effect on people for a lifetime.
A lifetime.
A lifetime. Family
And
is everything.
Yes.
it
Family is
is. And
everything.
that is Relative Race on BYU TV, and you can download the app on any kind of digital TV platform. And you can
Or
also
you
watch it
or you
for
watch it on
free
the internet.
online or
Yep,
watch it on
or
the
on the
internet.
internet. So
Yep.
with that being said, guys, we gotta wrap this up. We hope that you guys really kind of understood more so what family is to us. And we hope you think about what family is to you.
Mhm. Couldn't say it better myself.
Absolutely.
So as always, thank you for spending this hour with us. Thank you so much, Loretta, for your
For
insights and your
joining.
comments. And as always, we will see you in all the usual places that you get us, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time next week. Until then, I'm Brian.
And I'm Donya.
And I
You
miss
guys have,
Loretta.
and that's Miss
See you
Loretta.
Miss
later.
Loretta.